that my future isn't odd enough? Is it cause I think your music is innocuous? Or because I don't accept what they offer us? Deception is obvious and popular opinion makes decisions for the youth. They would rather be entertained instead of listening to truth. While market and psychology manipulate your elements, selling you an irrelevant product of unintelligence. Tell me to dumb it down, I tell you to smarten up. The revolution is now, the ending will start with us. The signal we're sending out encourages waking up. Executives look around, it's harder to make a buck.
So I wanted to begin by introducing who you are, what you do, and, we could tell people how we met.
Yes, we can tell our love story. That's my favorite part.
I do love that.
So who am I? So my name is Chaneé Jackson Kendall. I am a 36-year-old Atlantan. I was born here. I live here. I rep hard, and I'll probably die here. I'm an avid traveler, but Atlanta will always be home. I am a non-monogamous coach, educator, possibility model, innovator, trailblazer, all those dope things. I have been actively non-monogamous for about 12 or 13 years, and I have been publicly advocating for non-monogamy and kink, particularly in Black communities, for much of that time.
I love that. What made you get into this? Like, why are you advocating?
So my personal journey led me here simply because I'm a spoiled brat and I didn't understand why I had to choose, right? Like I literally found myself in a place where I fell in love with a cishet man, which is crazy to me still. But I am pansexual, and as I got away from my very religious upbringing and started embracing my sexuality, that kind of opened up things where I was like, if I can have more than one sibling and I can have more than one child and I can have more than one friend, why can I not have more than one love?
Absolutely.
And then just the way that I was raised, really, my family has always been a very loving family where we took in people who needed us, right? You need a family, we got one.
Yeah.
It was like my house was always the place to go. And I realized that as I moved away from my family of origin and began to build my own family, that I wanted that for myself. And that it aligned with the way that I loved, right? So this didn't start out as like a political mission.
Right. Understood.
It was really just like I fell in love and I fell in love with more than one person and I wanted that to be my life. And then how I got into so that's how I got into non-monogamy personally. I got into the work because I realized that the party line about non-monogamy and polyamory specifically was that it was white people shit.
Right. That, and I think it kind of really gets convoluted with swinging, which is a whole other lifestyle and relationship choice.
And polygamy.
That part. So I do love that you kind of bring all of this information, and we're going to circle back to that because I think it's very important. And it also segues into how our work connects, right? Because some people may be like, okay, but Desiree's always talking about supremacy culture. And what does relationships have to do with that? And I'm like, everything. But let's start with our love story first so people can fall in love with us.
So we fell in love and we met on a beach.
We did. Isn't that like absolutely? I love that because it's
romantic.
We totally fell in love on a beach in Mexico during a wedding of two of the most amazing human beings I have ever.
So for those of you who weren't there and haven't seen the awesome pictures and video, one of our amazing friends, Pam, got married in Tulum, Mexico. And she was very intentional, which is my love language. Intentionality is my love language, about who she invited to be a part, who she and Michael invited, and how they invited us, the way that they prepared us for the trip. It was just all beautiful and amazing. And so when we got there to the resort, we had never, like some of us had never met before. Des and I had never met before. But it was like immediate love. It was instant, right? So we're just like in the pool, at the beach, just drinking in
the cabana.
Right, in the cabana. The day after the wedding, we really just like laid on each other in a cabana all day. Yes. It was the most beautiful thing. Talking and drinking and eating and just, it felt like one big family. It really did.
I really, really love, because you're right, Pam is super intentional. And this is not to like not focus on Michael because he's also amazing. But because Pam brought us all together in Girls Growing, right? Pam is also a relationship coach herself. And I love how she is so intentional about creating community, to the point that I know that many of us had not met, right? We've been Facebook friends for years. We're sharing in the same group. We know so much about each other's lives and have never seen each other face to face. And none of us were like nervous or questions. Ooh, should I go? I'm going to be uncomfortable. I don't know everybody there. We just all knew we were coming together for Pam and Mike. And like, just
And
because
that's all that matters.
that's all that mattered. And the way she curates relationships really made us all feel safe. And I think that that's a really important distinction, right? In creating, in leadership positions, in community building. She's intentional about creating these safe spaces, no matter what, online or in real life. So just showing up and
so what that creates for us is that we know that we're safe with her, right?
Yes.
So because we're safe with Pam, if Pam has me around these people, that means that I'm safe with them. And that is a beautiful feeling that I seek to also create in my spaces.
Yes, I do too. I'm really intentional about that. Like, people need to feel safe, right? That's the foundation of relationships, trust, safety, all of that sort of stuff. So yes, we fell in love on a beach in Mexico. And then we decided, what else are we gonna do? And we had lunch,
right,
and now here we are. So I think that is a great way to kind of come into, how does our work overlap? And at that point, I will kind of introduce myself and what I do. As my intro goes, is I'm Desireé B. Stevens, and I pathologize whiteness. So I pathologize whiteness as a system because it is just that. It's a system of supremacy. It was born out of Christianization, which is the first colonization, which in turn turned into white supremacy, which is the supremacy part of the supremacy culture that impacts us as Black people. But there's so much other supremacy. It's why I'm so intentional about dropping the white beforehand and just saying supremacy culture, because now you have cis supremacy, right? You have hetero supremacy. You're going to have financial,
supremacy.
What kind?
Monogamous supremacy.
Right. Monogamous, right? Like, so that setup and how our work overlaps is that there is a Christian setup and framework, especially very specifically in America, right? As a Christian nationalist nation, you need to be cis, hetero, monogamous, Christian, wealthy, like all of these things within the pyramid scheme of these systems. So I think that I know that when discussing relationships, it is imperative to do that level of decolonization work, because I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with being monogamous. My job is to get you to question, why are you monogamous?
Right.
Why are you?
Monogamy is freely chosen, right? It's
right.
fine.
Like, that's cool. That's absolutely fine. Like, if you get into a relationship, you're like, I don't want to be in a relationship with no one else but this person forever. You should absolutely 100% do that. I support that. But if you're not questioning why you're straight, because many people are queer as hell across the spectrum, because it's not a binary, right? It's one of those pillars that I consistently argue against. It's not either or. There is a spectrum. Like you yourself said, you're pansexual. I myself have been queer in some aspect of my life, right? I just kind of go queer because I hate even that binary, right? My whole entire life, my community, my people, the people I date, I fall in love with, even the way I have friendships would still fall underneath a queer umbrella. I'm hella romantic.
Everything about the way we do friendship, our friendships are way more like romantic and deeply bonded. Like we could send a group text and be like, hey y'all, you want to go on this trip? And we're more likely to do that than like go on a trip with someone we're dating. Like
so much that. So even my friendships show up in my life. My whole life is queer and I love it. And I think that that's a necessary component to community. So with all of that, right, on how it kind of overlaps, I want you to tell me more, because your company does intentional polyamory.
Right.
Tell me more. Expound
So
upon.
intentional polyamory speaks to the idea that we were fed monogamy, right? Monogamy is not really something we were chosen. We are trained from the womb. Our gender is assigned to us, and we're said that you're a boy, you must meet and fall in love with a girl, and you must have children and stick together. And we're fed this lie of the nuclear family, all of these things that are really based around supremacy culture and capitalism and Christianity. You know what I mean? I'm supposed to wait until I'm married under the Christian faith to have sex.
Right.
And then I can only have sex with one person for the rest of my life.
Ever?
And the reality is, the stupid thing about all this is that nobody actually does that, right?
Nobody.
So the thing, people are not actually monogamous. What they're doing is they're being monogamous with one person until they don't want to anymore. And then they go on to someone else, right? Like, I have people in my family who've been married many times, right? And then they want to look down on me because I'm polyamorous. And I'm like, well, all of my relationships, my newest relationship is like 7 years long.
Right.
So what are we really talking about here?
Right.
And so intentional polyamory, even the actual, so non-monogamy is a big umbrella. And as we talked about, there's like swinging, there are types of plural marriage, there are all kinds of non-monogamy under the umbrella. But I am specifically polyamorous. And polyamory, the reason why there's intentionality necessary in this practice is because it speaks to how I live my life, not just how I do relationships, right?
Absolutely.
I live a polyamorous life. So for those of you who are, if you've never met me and are new to my content, I live polyamorously. I live with my husband and my baby mama, and who is his girlfriend.
Right.
And our child, who is awesome and amazing and 8.5. He is the light of our life. And we also parent with another co-parent who lives nearby. So my child has 4 parents and has always had 4 parents. Like, that's his entire conception of his life. And he knows that we're all polyamorous. He knows that we date. He's familiar with our partners. And so under that framework, I'm creating the village that has been taken from me by capitalism and monogamy and all those things. And so the intersection, like, when you're decolonizing, we have to decolonize our relationships too.
Absolutely.
So much of what you think a relationship is supposed to be is based on this like white Christian affluent model. And so all these people who are neither white nor Christian nor affluent are striving for this impossible ideal. And so I want to get people away from that, and I want to teach them how to build lives that support their polyamorous relationships.
I absolutely love that. And you do that by way of, give me some examples where people
I do that by way of one-on-one coaching. So, for people who are at whatever point in your polyamorous journey, if you've been doing it for a long time and think you need a tune-up, if you are completely new to the idea and trying to figure out how it could fit into your life, if you're working with a partner to create space for y'all's relationship in your wider relational landscape, I do one-on-one coaching. I also do a 6-week course that is called Intentional Polyamory. Coming into 2024, we're going to be doing some other kinds of intentional relationship cohorts, because intentionality is important to all relationships, not just polyamory. There is intentional marriages, there's intentional family life. We'll be talking about intentional kink. So moving into 2024, I'm going to be really focusing on relationships in general and how we can take away what we've been given and make choices for ourselves and co-create relationships with the stakeholders that matter.
I love that. Ding, 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 ding. Tag me in, coach. Because that is another space where we overlap, right? I do decolonization work. And when we're talking about decolonization, we're stating that we are aware that we are all living currently in colonial times, right? The idea of a post-racial world or post-colonial world is an absolute fallacy to ignore the things that are oppressing us all at some level of intersection, right? For me, it is an intricate web, right? Like you said, you mentioned these things. Like, if you are not affluent, so yes, white people, you too can be oppressed within colonial standards, right? If you are not able-bodied, if you are not cis, if you are not monogamous, all of these things weigh down on you when there is an idea of a structure, a standard that was created in a monarchy and brought over with WASP culture, right? And continually needing to perform this, like trying to move up these hierarchies within these systems. And that's something that's just exhausting. Personally, is just exhausting.
You will never win that game.
Never. Nobody's winning. Nobody's winning. Everybody's losing at it, and in an awful way. And with the individualistic way that a nuclear family isolates people, it creates silence, so people are not talking, right? This is why I enjoy having a platform. This is why this year I'm trying to expound upon a podcast so more people can at least hear and then maybe begin to engage in conversations such as this and just begin to ask the question, because that's how we get to liberation, right? Is releasing
every
all of the
single revolution has always been the people coming together and realizing that change was necessary.
Yeah, like this is not working. It's not working for anyone, right? And your description of polyamorous is mine as well, right? Like polyamorous for me is not necessarily the relationship that I'm in, right? Like polygamy is the kind of relationship that you're in, your love style, your relationship style. Polyamorous for me is also a lifestyle. If I love many, right? And I love in many ways, in all of the ways. And it's so much more expansive, right? I feel like being intentional about your relationships when you're open about being non-monogamous and having these conversations, you open up to community, which for me is the core of my work, right? Like, I'm like, let me guide you on how to build community.
Right. And it's this idea that when I meet people, I have infinite possibilities about what we might be together, right? We might be business partners. We might be kinky play partners. We might want to integrate our lives completely. And in some cases, we might be all of those things, right?
Right.
And
when
honestly,
we're not, we're just not.
Right. And maybe we will be again, right? And so that's my beautiful lane. I love to have multi-purpose people in my life. And the way polyamory allows me to be open to connection. Like I was talking to I have a platonic life partner, and he and I are often we often talk about how even though we're not having sex, how taboo our relationship would be outside of a polyamorous context, right?
Really,
Like
very well.
I talk to him every day like every day.
Yeah.
We are in constant communication. And the very fact that I am a married woman having a conversation with a man every day that's not my husband would scandalize so many monogamous people.
And that's the isolation that it creates, right? Because where is your community coming from? Where are you allowed to stretch, to grow, right? Like, not every single thing needs to be shared with your partner. I'm really big on that. I'm like, yo, that's what your friends are for. Why are you even doing that?
My mother taught me that. My mother has been married for 49 years.
God bless.
She told me, like, my parents they are like disgustingly cute. But when I tell you, my mom told me when I was very young, she was like, husbands are for X, Y, and Z, baby.
Correct.
You can go do that with your friends. She was like, I don't need your daddy to take me shopping. Your daddy gave me this money. I'm going to call my friends and we'll go shopping.
That's right. I think that leads into autonomy, which is something that's not allowed under colonial constructs, right? Mm-hmm. And like, we are all autonomous beings, right? My children.
And we're born with our autonomy. It's not something someone else has to give you. You have it. It's yours.
Right there. Intrinsic worth, autonomy. And I want to make my own decisions. I want to be able to do that. And that doesn't mean, I think that when people hear that, they turn around and it's like, oh, you have no regard for your partner. And I'm like, oh, no, absolutely not. My partner is somebody who I'm partnering with, right? Like, and every decision that we make needs to
I get to choose, right?
But I choose.
And saying that I get to choose doesn't mean I won't consider my partners.
Right.
But now, and if you find yourself in a relationship with someone who's not considering you and their choices, you don't want to get out, right?
Yeah, quickly.
But I don't want to have to legislate how you choose me. I want you to choose me of your own free will.
That part, and policing and all of that. And for me, I think that when we turn around and we are super intentional about our own individual lives, and then the immediate, right, like politics starts at home. That's what I would. It starts here. Your governance, your policies, right? Your democratic ways of being, however you see yourself, it starts at home, and you are your first home, right?
And
So
that's why in intentional polyamory, the very first pillar is self-work, right? We start with your shit. You can't partner with anybody else if you don't have a firm handle on your shit.
your shit. Get your shit together. And I do that too, right? Like when people are like, what's the next step in my activism? I'm yo shit. Like, why are you worried about what? Listen, this has been going on for thousands of years. And even if you go hard as hell, like hard in the paint about whatever, you can march wherever you want, you could vote wherever you want. Nothing is going to change in this instant. And nothing is going to change until you do the work.
And
right?
change your ways of being,
You
the way that
have
you're thinking, all of that.
You must, because it's all created through agreements, whether it's silent agreements, right? Whether it's just the go along to get along. These are agreements that we have made as a society. We are all complicit in what is going on, right? Like we're talking right now, it's interesting. The conversation that's going on in the world right now is about the children in the Congo for mining for Apple products. I happen to be on an Apple product right now. But in 2008, I was at a spoken word poetry, and Darnell Fine, I used to call him my poetry boyfriend. He literally had a poem that brought me to tears, and it was called Blood on Our Cell Phones, and was talking about it then. We're here in 2023. And this was happening in a coffee shop in Atlanta. So it's very interesting, like these hot button topics come up. And I'm like, if you were doing the work internally, if you were working on your own personal politics, how do you want to be handled? How do I want to handle other people? Are you making actual choices and decisions? Or are you just like, well, I guess I'll do that because this is what has been prescribed to me according to this role. Like what you said, like within colonial constructs, we're just told something, right? Like I consistently tell people, I very specifically.
Questioning is discouraged.
Yes.
Questioners are outliers.
Always. And I usually work with who tend to become my demographic has been white women. And I started off and I asked the question, who were you before you were white? And they're like, what? And I'm like, correct. Like, who were you? Right. So when you start doing that internal work, like, oh, how did I get here? How did we get here? Beginning to live inside of the questions, asking yourself, did I ask for any of this, right? Because whiteness as a system is non-consensual, and consent across the board is needed. It doesn't ask you what your gender is, your religion is, what any of your statuses are, right? Like here's your gender, here's who you should date, and just go on. And then we wonder why people are having midlife crises at like 35 and like what?
I say all the time that my intention is to build a world where my children never have to come out as anything. I have never come out as anything. I am pansexual and I am polyamorous and I am very openly so, but I never told anybody that. I simply
I'm not going to
my multiple partners, and you saw that they were multiple genders, right? And it's one of those things where I want us to live in a world where I get to tell you who I am. Instead of you assuming who I am and me having to correct you, right? That just paradigm shift of the entire world, listening to people. Let me tell you who I am, right? I agree. That's the world I'm trying to create.
That's my world that I envision as well, which is why I think that we kind of overlap in some of the most beautiful ways. Because I'm like, I just want to tell you my name. All you need to know about me is what to call me.
Right.
That's it. The rest of my life, what I choose to share is it. And I don't agree. The only reason why we have like the coming out, and I understand the need for all of the labels, right? Like it is so they could be advocated for. And I'm like, life and existence should not be a political stance. They should not need advocation because people exist. Therefore, if people exist, there is a spectrum of how they live that also exists. That
and so that's an important part of my story that kind of answers the question I didn't get all the way to, which is why I started doing this work, right? I found myself a very privileged queer Black woman,
Mhm.
right? I don't have a financial or professional imperative to maintain a certain image. Most queer polyamorous women do not have the socioeconomic freedom
Right.
to be able to be open about being Black and queer and kinky and polyamorous the way
And
that I.
unapologetic about it.
Right. And openly and unapologetic, right? Like I am, it's so funny. I just realized that I didn't change my name in the beginning of this, right? So like yesterday I was participating in a kink house that I'm a part of. I was participating in a conversation, right? So I am openly and actively a kink educator, and I am also one of the best moms you'll ever encounter. And I can
Right.
hold both of those identities proudly, right? But so many people don't have that privilege. And so what I realized is that it was my responsibility to use that privilege, right? And it's so interesting because you look at me and I am a fat, disabled, Black queer woman, and you don't think, oh, she has privilege, right? But it's
Right.
important to me to think about the ways that I am privileged and to use that. What I have is a voice. I have a voice, I have a platform, and
Right.
I have the time and freedom to use those things. So um it's important for me to be a possibility model because there are little queer Black girls like me who don't see a world where they can be happy because
Right.
there is nobody showing them how they don't have to choose one of their identities over the other. And so
Ooh.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I like that. And that lands in the, because it's the Black first thing. And I'm like, yes, when you're talking about white supremacy, because like no matter where you go, that's the perception, right? Because these systems set up, if they see you, you are treated how you're perceived, right? Both of us are Black women, you are unambiguously Black. People tell me like, oh, you're racially ambiguous. I'm like, there's nowhere in the world I'd be white. But I am ethnically ambiguous. I will 100% give that up. So I can maneuver in certain places and spaces, and even that is a privilege. I think that we need to start redefining and divesting from what whiteness tells us is a privilege, right? Because there is an assumption that's made, right? Like that you are probably worse off than some and others. And I get the same thing. Meanwhile, we're both sitting here in the middle of the day at our home doing
Right.
jobs we love. And I'm like,
Right. You
maybe
are you
we need
must
to
somebody's
rethink that.
clock. Right.
Right. Like I'm just saying it might be a conversation to rethink that. And I think that when you do have certain levels of privilege, you are tasked to do the work in a bigger way and in a broader way. Because I think what you said about holding, I could be a kink educator and a mother is something so vital and important, right? Because as a mother myself, I'm a mom of 4, right? And they range like 27 to 4. It's wild. It's
Listen,
crazy.
I already know there's gonna be an age gap between my kids because I only have one and he's almost 9, but
Right.
dear God, not that big. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that you're in charge, but please just 10 years max. Thanks.
It
Okay.
is very interesting because I've literally parented across the generations, right? Like millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. And it's like, wow, this is absolutely wild. And I'm a Gen Xer, which is like boomer light. So like I've had to do a ton of unpacking in my parenting model and how that shows up. And doing this work of my own decolonization journey has told me show up authentically, right? Like I'm a whole person in my house. Like titles are not the thing that is going to constrict me from being authentically and unapologetically me. When I'm tired, I'm tired. When I'm doing whatever I'm doing, if I'm dating, that's what I'm doing. I'm dating. If I am with this person or that person, and what it allows, right? Like when we're thinking about forward motion is to your point of there are queer young Black girls that are looking to you. My children also see that this is possible. And this is what
Right.
I
And
mean
that
by it
we
starts at home.
all get to be whole people. Right. And that's the real thing for my son yes, I am your mama. And listen, Monday through Thursday, I'm clocked in, baby.
Yeah.
I'm clocked in Monday through Thursday. But Friday morning, when he
I'm
walks
out.
out of my door, any interaction that he and I have Friday morning through Sunday evening at 6 p.m. is coincidental because I clock out.
Oh, that's right.
It's three parents. Now, those three other parents all work full-time jobs that allow me to live the life that I want and have the career that I want.
Right.
Beautiful. But I clock out and I clock in because I'm a
Oh, yeah.
whole person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I clock out in my house with them. I'm like, whoa, time's up.
That time.
I need space now, and we're done, right? And everybody takes their perspective spaces and does that their own thing, which empowers when we're talking about the work of decolonization, questioning, relationship building, community building. It empowers this next generation to feel unapologetic about being themselves.
Right. And to know that they too get to be whole people. It's modeled for them. I don't want to raise a daughter or a son or a non-binary child who feels like their entire life should be devoted to their children. Because I'm not modeling that for you.
That is so depleting. That is so depleting. And that's a whole other, that's
right.
a whole
We could do a whole other like decolonizing parenting. Like
we could totally do that. And when that happens, I'm gonna definitely invite, because we should, because it's still relationship topic. I will invite Yolanda from Parenting Colonized, because she fleshes that out in a much broader way, right? But like all of it is interconnected. And I think that that's something to take away from this is every relationship is absolutely interconnected. Every single relationship matters and needs to be questioned.
right.
Why
So
are you in this?
Right. The systems that we operate under affect the relationships that we find ourselves in, right? And so if we question, your work is like we need to question the systems. My work is like we need to question the relationships. If you do both, you'll realize that both are flawed, right?
Right.
That you creating your own is the only way to real liberation.
Absolutely. So as we're kind of rounding down, because I'm trying to keep these things to like listening time, right?
Yeah,
like no longer do hours anymore.
We can talk forever.
We could like maybe one day we'll have a radio station and we could just chop it up, music playing all day and just like have people come in. But let me ask you from your own perspective, because we're going to be continuing to do these series and having these conversations throughout the new year. What is it that you expect from your listeners, right? Like you already have your own platform. I have my own platform. Two things. What do you think that your people, I hate to call people followers, right? Like it's like, because it's such it feels to me like they don't have anything then to offer me, right? And it falls into that.
I'm gonna call them my community, right?
I love that.
Let's go with my community.
What would your online community gain from this series from me being here and vice versa? What would my online community gain from you being here?
So I think that the people in my online community get like a peek into my life and they see how I am queering relationships, right? They see how I have platonic life partners. They see how I have dynamic partnerships with my romantic and sexual interests. And so that gets them to question like how these all things work together. And so I think that I want them, by interacting with you and your content, I want them to see that these things are the same. That as you queer relationships, as you decolonize your ideas about relationships, you also should start to question the broader systems under which we live, right? And you start to question who you are and how you fit into the oppressive systems and what you can do to get outside of that oppression, right? Because they're the same thing. Right. So we're approaching the same goal of real liberation, just from different perspectives. So I think it's like a circle, like if you follow Chanee, you're gonna make it around to Des, and I think it's the other way around as well.
I agree completely, right? Like as far as from my perspective, I mean, I could pretty much mirror exactly what you said, right? Because again, it's all interconnected and these systems continuously keep us isolated, right? Like, oh, you need to only focus on anti-racism work. And when we do that, then we have to put that down to now do the work of LGBTQIA work. Right. Oh shit. Now we have to put that down to go and do this work. And I'm like, no.
It's all the same work.
It's all the same work. Like, it's all the same work. Let's do the work together. Let's be collaborating, right? Because these systems create competition. And I think it's something really important to see people collaborating.
Exactly. The people at the top of whatever they're doing are collaborating. And that's
Oh yeah. Like, and that is really the key, right? Because at the bottom of that pyramid is the majority. And if we all started working together and collaborating more and showing how this work overlaps, I think that people find that integration more, right? Like how I first started out was, I was like, oh, I'm a spiritual counselor and I'm going to guide you in shadow work. And then it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger because it's about integrating all of the parts. Right. And that is it. And I think that the collaboration between yourself and myself and others that will be here is just that, showing how collaboration brings forth integration and hopefully will allow people to integrate the parts of themselves as well on their decolonization journey.
Collaboration, integration, liberation. That's the art.
I love that. And we're definitely putting that on a t-shirt.
But can we get a V-neck? Because you know the girls.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. Only hands around my throat. This one is killing me.
Only hands. That's a t-shirt too.
That is a t-shirt.
So like a really deep V.
Oh, only
hands. That's like I only like hands around my throat.
Oh, okay then. We're gonna do that. That's it. There goes our next collaboration on merch. Okay. So as we wind this down, please tell the people where to find you.
Well, you can find me at Chaneé Speaks everywhere on the internet. So Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. And if you are interested in the intentional polyamory cohort, there is a new one starting in February that is currently enrolling. And you can find information about that at intentionalpolyamory.com.
I love that. Same goes for me. I am Desireé B. Stevens with a PH everywhere. I'm like on all of the platforms as well. I have an online healing community called Makeshift Happen. You can go there, join. Chanee will be having a space and group, but I believe you need to go through the cohort and then that's for further support. Is that correct?
Well, I think we can approach it either of the ways. We're gonna let you come in and learn more about me and then join the cohort. We're gonna let people who have joined the cohort come in, and we're still figuring out how that's all gonna work. But we are actively involved in collaborating and helping people see how these things are all tied together.
Absolutely. I love all of this. And I hope you guys continue to tune in to Let's Have the Conversation. This is going to be available on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, and as well as Substack, where we will link each other so then you can hear and listen. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day and come back again.
You can't get unfake. Right.
I fit comfortably between the retro and next though. Terminator X with a Tyrannosaurus Rex flow, demonstrating how to be live and direct, so the rest can expect nothing less than perfecto. This track kinda reminds me of Tribe in the 90s. I guess I'm on a quest to align.